I'm a single mother, we've gone through a divorce, and the divorce is not just between the husband and the wife, it's that the family is divorced. So he said, I'm in love with the girl, that, you have to be safe, and consent is important.
In 10th, and I told her that, like I have friends and all who are girls. She's like, Revaant, whatever happens, if I ever get to know that you've treated a woman disrespectfully in your life, you're gonna get it from me.
I said, what do you mean? Don't you love me the way I am? You don't like your mother being fat?
But I think that a lot of people that I talk to, especially our age boys, don't have that sense of comfort to open up or to, dive deep into what they're feeling. Or
I always have told him that never hide anything from me, because this is your safe place. जो भी कभी भी कुछ भी हो जाए, I would want to be the first person to know.
Hello and welcome to yet another episode of Tiffin Break by Little Joyce. Today, we have a very special set of guests with us. Please allow me to welcome Sonia Kulkarni, who is co-founder and managing partner at Hunk Golden, a communications and PR firm, and her firstborn son, Revaant. This is our first episode with her mother and her son, and I'm sure it's going to be very, very exciting for us to hear from them about their journey and their relationship over the last 20 years. Please welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Revaant, for having us, and it's a joy to be here. I think it's the first time we both are like this on a platform, sharing our little joys, our moments of, fun, as well as, growing up together. He growing up as a child and me growing up as a mother with him. So thank you for having us.
I'm sure, I don't know what your thoughts were on coming on this show, but I think that's the most common feedback we have heard, that not many of us have had a platform to just maybe express, or even before expressing, just introspect sometimes and look back at the journey that we have had over this maybe 10, 15, 20 years in that sense. Yeah. But any thoughts, Revaant, from your end before we start?
I mean, I was nervous before I came here. Like, I decided to come, and a little bit of persuasion from mom helped. But I also thought that there's a story that needs to be told to the audience, or to people who are listening, who might go through a similar thing that me and my family went, or as a teenager growing up in the so-called Gen Z era, how it goes, and especially a boy who's been through a lot. So yeah, I think that story needed to be heard.
That's very, very forthcoming of you. But let's directly delve into the fact that what you mentioned, right? That you felt that you wanted others to sort of at least get a sense of that they may not be alone, or there may be different situations that may go through, and how do you sort of navigate them, etc. But because you specifically touched on that point, would love to understand about, are there any specific topics that you want to cover, or did you have any thoughts before coming in here that yaar ye do teen cheez to mujhe aaj at least batani hi hai karke?
I mean, before I came here, there was no topic that I wanted to talk on as such. I'm a pretty open person, in general, because I think that the more open you're about things, the more people, the more people you can connect with, and the more people you can connect with, the more lives you can touch, because I think that's something that I've seen my parents do in general also. So I think that came into me naturally, and I wanted to do that since the start. So yeah, I think that as men, we don't talk about a lot of things. I mean, coming from a pretty young age, luckily and fortunately, I have had a great support system from my dad, from my friends, and from my mom also, to talk about the man problems, etc. But I think that a lot of people that I talk to, especially our age boys, don't have that sense of comfort to open up, or to, dive deep into what they're feeling, or, things like that, which further on complicate things a lot going down the line. So I think that having a perspective on things from someone else who's your age really helps. So I think primarily that was the reason why, or that was a selling point wherein mom was like, you should do this. And I was like, you know what, fair enough.
Well, that's actually a very, very mature thought process for a 19, 20-year-old. But do you think, as parents, you always feel that we've had a very large role to play in how our children grow up. What do you think led him to have such mature thought process at this age?
Actually, I want to just take it back a little, because one of the main reasons I felt that he should also be a part of this show is also because he's been a part of my own growth and my fitness journey. So we always say, you know, parents raise children and, you know, we do this big job of, you know, bringing up kids. But I have another take. I feel that the children are the ones who are actually raising parents. As a first-time mother, you know, parenting is new. Even at my age, at 50, I just turned 50 and he's almost going to be 20. It's still new because every day is a new challenge. And particularly, you know, when we went through a situation in family, you know, I'm a single mother, we've gone through a divorce, and the divorce is not just between the husband and the wife, it's the family is divorced, right?
Yeah.
And I always wanted them, and likewise his father also, we've kept that openness with the children. We've never restricted. They, you know, go and, you know, visit the father and all of that. But most importantly, what he did to me, and I'll always be indebted, is he took me on a fitness journey. So, you know, when I was going through my own separation and my own issues, emotional, it was impacting my health. And, you know, as a 40-year-old with 2 children, you know, working, and most Indian women are like that. You know, we forget ourselves, right? We are not bothered about, you know, how our health is, whether we've put on weight, because we want to focus on our kids, we want to focus on our extended families. And somewhere it had impacted me. I had put on a lot of weight and I wouldn't find time, you know, while earlier I was into fitness. But there was this part of me, and emotionally, obviously, I was also not in a very good space. And I remember exactly 11 years ago, we were on the 1st of Jan 2013. And I particularly want to share this because I think it will help a lot of women, you know, and mothers and the children, because, you know, we talk about role models, right? We talk about inspiration. And he was, I think, going through his own, you know, growing up challenges in school and whatever. And we had this little conversation. It was a New Year's Day, and I said, you know, Revaant, I'm getting this in back of my mind. That's the conversation I'm having, that I'm getting a lot of complaints about him from school. Why is he not, you know, doing? He was such a good child. Little realizing that whatever is happening, you know, is also affecting him. Like, I am so much into my own sorrow. I would go to work. My mother had come there to support me. I would probably go into my room, saw my heart out, you know, and children are children. I would think that, okay, they're busy playing. You know, he's 8.5, he's almost 9, he's absorbing a lot of things. And in his own little mind, he's trying to articulate something that is not, something is missing. And on the dining table, we were having breakfast, and I said, you know, Revaant, I promise you this is New Year's, let's do a little exchange of, you know, promises. I said, I'll give you 3 things. Any 3 things you want, but you need to do 3 things for me in exchange. And I honestly thought he's going to ask me for, because he was this very demanding kid at that time, you know, toys chahiye, ye chahiye, wo chahiye. I said, wo usi mein ho jayega, you know. And I'll tell him that, okay, now you're going to get this. I will, you know, you have to complete your homework, or you have to behave in school, or I don't want complaints, whatever it is in my head. And he just looked into my eyes like this. We were like this, and my younger one was about 2.5. And he said, are you sure? I said, yeah, I'm sure. I will stick to my promise. He said, no, think about it again. I said, yes, I promise you. And he just looked into my eyes and he said, Mom, I want you to be physically fit. And I'm like, where is this coming from? Then, you know, as a woman, you think, oh, he doesn't love me. I'm, you know, overweight, I'm fat, you know. And I said,
How
don't
much
you?
did you weigh back then?
I was almost 95. You know, I had, the day I delivered my younger one, I was 104. And after that, I have gone through situations where I've had hypothyroid, I had sciatica, I was postpartum depression. Obviously, the situation at home was not helping, not into exercise, nothing. I tried losing a bit of weight, but, you know, it was to just, and the mental health wasn't good, right? Emotionally, I was not good. And when you also are, you know, overweight, you're not confident. And, you know, I would not go down or play with him or be with him or whatever. And he was missing that. You know, and he said, I said, what do you mean? Don't you love me the way I am? You don't like your mother being fat? So he said, no, it's not about that. I love you, but this will do you good. You know, I want you to run with me. I want you to play with me. I want you to swim. And it was like an eye-opener. And I said, if I don't fulfill, I mean, A, it's an eye-opener for me. B is, if I don't fulfill his promise, it's not that he's not going to love me, but he will think adults are like this, you know, could be promise kar dete, but karte to nahi hai, you know. And I didn't want that. And trust me, it did help me. I, of course, went to the doctor and, you know, we chalked it out. I took my health seriously. And my doctor said the same thing, you're not even 40. and you're young, you have a full life ahead of you, and why do you want to just waste it? And I took to training, health workouts, and I started running, and then of course I got into Pinkathon. That's another story, and there was no looking back. So I want to give him that credit, I want to, because a lot of time we think that we are growing or we are going through our challenges on our own, but it's actually your family, your children, who are also showing you that direction. And he has played that very big role in my life, and I don't.
Amazing. Do you remember this, or
no? I remember this. No, I remember this very clearly. It's because since the start, I was into sports. Like since a kid, I was playing sports, whether it was football, tennis, chess, whatever. Like still, I love playing sports, and like it's a very big part of how I grew up and like who I am today. And seeing mom being a bit sad and all, I thought that she could use the same thing. Obviously, not this deep that time. I just thought she'd be happy if she ran a kilometer and she'd be like, okay, I can do something. I think that's where it came from.
Get back to that thought. You were 8.5 back then.
Yeah.
9.
Yeah, no, not even 9. 8.5.
So 9 le lo aap. But at 9, to have such deep thought process that it would be beneficial for us just blows my mind that you were that thoughtful about, because you were also internalizing the fact that I'm assuming when separation, that your dad was not staying with you, right? So suddenly after 8 years of getting to know both your parents, you're only staying with, and you had a younger brother.
Yeah.
And we get a lot of questions around the fact that जब एक younger child आता है, तो then the elder one's behavior changes. Then there's a separation. Between all of this, like, it's amazing that you could think about what I would help her.
Think maybe
versus, because as human beings we are born selfish, right? मतलब हमारा दिमाग ऐसे ही चलता है. हम अपने बारे में सोचते हैं पहले, right? And usually we have this कि हमारे साथ क्यों हुआ, right? एक छोटा भाई आ गया, अब उस प्यार शेयर हो रहा है. That's the usual comment we get, right? That the elder one gets jealous that the love is being shared. Then you have two parents. Suddenly one is, you're able to spend time, but at least not seeing them at home. Usually the focus is on self. कि मुझे क्या चाहिए?
And I think why as to how I had that thought process was, I think when my parents got divorced, I think my dad and my mom both were really open about it with me, and they were like, see, this is what it is, this is how it is, and we both love you, and that's it. And I think for me that confidence was enough to know that whenever I needed either my mom or my dad, they were always a call away. And when it happened, actually my dad told me that now you need to be a bit mature and take some responsibilities because he's not going to be around. And I think since that day I was like, yeah, okay, fine, whatever you say I'll do, because that's the kind of relationship I share with my dad, wherein I respect him way too much to not listen to what he says.
Got it.
And yeah, I mean, with mom I was like, okay, I'm the man of the house now, fine, I have to take care of you, that's it, done, finished.
It's interesting. I think we hear a lot of these comments come up generally on how open we should be with our kids. We are seeing a clear real life example of the fact that, if you're the more open you are, the more, the kids can absorb that, internalize it, and actually act upon it better if you're transparent enough.
Yeah, fair enough.
No, one is that. The other being, I'll tell you very honestly where I came from is, if you don't normalize the conversation at home and you're always going to think that there's something wrong or missing, then they'll also grow up with that.
Yeah.
Right? I want them to be super confident. What has happened has happened. At least you have two healthy parents. May not be together. They may have had their own challenges and issues or differences, but at least they love you, and they're taking care of you, and of course they're enjoying the benefits. They get to go for 2 holidays, gifts and whatever apart. That's joking. But
no, I'm not joking, seriously.
Actually, he's enjoying it, right?
I mean, now
I can have one holiday.
Yeah.
And also, I felt that if I am open, if I am strong, if I am having these conversations with them, and if I allow them to even ask me, then they can deal with whatever is happening in external. Because see, external world is not very kind, not going to be kind all the time, right? And while of course I would still say, did have the good part of all the parents being together for a large part of his life, like 8 years.
Yeah.
And he's seen the happiness and the love and all of that. And he had good friends and good support system. But the younger one, of course, had a different experience. You know.
How did you manage communication there with Ruhaan, if I may ask?
So it was very different with him because his memory of his father, I mean, of course, he's also very attached. And when his father moved out or separated, he was barely 2.5.
Yeah.
So his growing up years till the time he was in the first standard. In fact, I remember when he came back from school and they had my family composition, he came and asked me, you know, my teacher told me that family means mother, father, brother, sister together. And I always thought that, you know, I stay with you, dad stays with his father, and that's family. You know, because he was so young. And
that's when you will have the conversation.
Yeah, and I had not really opened up and told him because how much will he understand and absorb? He would of course get to meet his father. They would go and stay with the dad over the weekends and all. But that was the time I realized, okay, now I have to talk to him and make him understand. But he went through different set of challenges. Because unfortunately with him, there were moments where he's got bullied, he's been, you know, teased. And, you know, then I had to obviously...
With specific to this relationship?
Yes, with you know, specific that his parents are not together. And, you know, we had to then obviously give him that understanding how to handle this.
What age was this, if I may ask?
This was when he was maybe in the 4th standard. So, you know, these are the challenges. So, I think it only helps. Now, today, you know, as I said, we openly discuss, they ask questions, whether it's to me or to their father. It helps them also to be at peace. You know, otherwise this constant struggle, you know, emotionally, I didn't want them to carry those baggages. Because, you know, a lot of times you carry so many baggages from your childhood and your growing up years and, you know, it impacts your adult life also later. And I had that in my head and I said, what's the point of being, you know, educated, aware? We read so much. And of course, as they are boys, they're going to be men. They'll have their relationships and how they behave, you know, with the women in their life, whether it's the mother, the wife or the you know, daughter or girlfriends or whatever. It needs to be taken care of. If they are happy today, you know, then obviously that's going to reflect, you know, also well.
Yeah.
So really that was the whole thought process.
But do you have active conversations with your ex-husband on, because I'm sure like me and my wife disagree on so many things about how to bring up our son.
Yes.
I mean, post-divorce, so it would be even harder, no? Or has it actually become easier? Because they're like clear boundaries.
To be very frank with you, you know, we've gone through very different phases of this whole separation. And my only one point is that, you know, you don't get married to divorce, right? So obviously you want the marriage to work.
Correct.
And more so in the Indian society because of, you know, so many, like when I was going through it, I didn't want to, I was in denial. I didn't want it. I didn't want that being single tag or being whatever. But then there a point came when I realized that there's no point in just, you know, struggling and trying to make it work when it's not going to happen. So you rather accept it. So I would have appreciated if there were more cordial conversations at that time, which unfortunately didn't happen. But today, I think we are all mature. We all realize that, okay, it's over 10 years now. You know, we don't really interfere and they're also growing up. But yes, important, there are very important aspects of their, you know, growing up years or careers or education. We do discuss. And then the discussion is amongst the 4 of us. Like when Ruhaan, my younger one, wanted to, we were exploring, you know, him moving to another school. And especially it was a boarding school, residential school. We all discussed it. So I was not very keen initially because I thought he's still the baby of the house and he's never stayed away. Already he had flown, you know, flown the nest.
Actually, it's a little bit, I'm assuming that, especially because if they're so, I mean, they are really a core integral part of your life.
Yes.
And no mother likes to see
exactly.
the children.
And already because he had already moved out. So he had moved to Pune after his 12th standard. I at least thought that younger one is with me, and you know there's an age difference of 6 years. But then you know his father also spoke to me and they said I think this is good for him. He wants it. I also spoke to the principal of the school and she also said you know if he wants to do it, it's good for him to be independent, and he being the elder brother, Ruhaan really looks up to him. Like they have their own share of. Earlier they used to have a lot more fights and sibling, you know, but now it's beautiful because. Now, I think the staying away also helps. Whenever they meet, they come home, they have their own sharings and stuff like that. So, in matters like this, we do have a conversation. And we, of course, respect the differences. I mean, we don't have to agree to everything. And I'll tell you where really, this is my little bit of learning and my introspection, is that there are no rights and wrongs. Two people can be right, he can be right in his own way, I can be right. When I try to force my right on him is where the conflict happens, right? Likewise, in any decisions that you're taking, you don't have to always agree, but you have to see what is the best for the circumstance, the person, in our case, the children, what really works best. If it means that I have to compromise or, step down, it helps. So I think it's just the maturity that, by age it comes, and then you'll start looking at things very differently. And I think also at the end of the day, what really matters is we are all at peace and, they are happy, and it's working for, their benefit. It's really more about that now.
Interesting. Like, I'm quite amazed that your younger son proactively, Ruhaan came up and said that I want to go to boarding school.
Yeah.
It's all parents would want their children to be independent, having their own thoughts, etc. And not about मैं जिद की बात नहीं कर रहा हूँ कि मुझे टीवी देखना है, मुझे चॉकलेट ही चाहिए. That independent thinking every child has, right? But in terms of making decisions as to what may be good for them, is it more about the upbringing or the fact that because you had to make a lot of decisions independently, or they went through the separation and they realized, or at least the open and honest conversation where your dad told you that you had to now be the, take care of a lot more. Did you feel more responsible for Ruhaan as well?
Yeah, I mean, initially I did. But I think that's why we had a lot of fights when I was like, I don't want this, but I it came onto me. Like, it was not like you forced onto me, but like I always thought about it initially. But then I think as I grew older, I mean, when I was like towards the 10th or the 11th standard, I was like, this is not the kind of relationship that I want to share with my brother. He looks up to me, I'm there for him for anything, but I can't be bullying him every time or, like just throwing him around or things.
This is what most elder
Yeah.
So then I think majorly my dad helped me realize that, and he's like, Revaant, I think you need to be an elder brother to your younger brother now. It's high time you do that because, he looks up to you. I mean, all younger brothers look up to their elder brothers, right? And I think that I also wanted Ruhaan to, sort of become more mature and understand and take things more head on, which he didn't, which now he definitely does. I think that change in him has been all thanks to majorly him, because I think somewhere he understood that, this is not right for me, or this is right for me, and he started taking things into consideration and, doing those decisions. Also with him, I think he realized that there is, he realized pretty young that there's much more to life than to just sit in front of a television screen. Because the change that he's had after going there, like today he genuinely wants to play more sports. He wants to go and, learn a new sport, participate. And I think that's so amazing compared to, I mean, the kids today, wherein all they just want to do is play the
but I think it's a little serendipitous, right? That life throws different experiences at you.
Yeah, 100%.
And only when you go through those experiences do you actually realize that there are other viable alternatives. Like, for example, if you had not gone out, he would not have got the exposure ki acha yaar, if you go out, there is an independent life that is also there.
Correct,
right?
yeah.
I don't think he had planned ki main boarding school jaake ekdam hi every kid likes, like in the end it's your mind.
Part is that he's really adapted more than, our expectations. Like, honestly, a child who's been at home till 7th standard goes to a pure vegetarian school. Here he used to not eat anything other than non-veg. He's very fond of non-veg, and, suddenly, you have a different set of children you're meeting with. You've left your friends, you've left your comfort zone, and you're, managing your everything, your laundry, your homeworks, your, prep. And most importantly, he was not a child who would share. I had to keep prodding him, Today, like, they're allowed 2 phone calls a week. So every time he calls, there are things he will share, not just tactical things, but things that, he's experiencing. Like that day, he said, Mom, like, he's got big time into, like, he literally tells me I'm addicted to basketball. He said, can you imagine I'm getting to play with my seniors? It's a very majestic feeling, for an 8th grader.
Yeah.
And I was so overwhelmed because, these are such important parts or life skills that, he is picking up on his own. or things like he will tell me to chill, if like the other day he called up, he said, I had a stomach, few of us had a stomach upset, and I was like very paranoid. I said, why didn't you tell your school to call me? What medicines did you take? He said, Mom, chill, I'm fine. I'm calling you after 3 days. I'm speaking to you well. I said, did you have any weakness? Things like that, At home, I sometimes get very emotional thinking, yaar, iske saath to I can call up anytime. I travel often to Pune. He comes home. With him, obviously it's a school, so discipline. So we only can do according to that. But then he also takes advantage. Whenever I meet him, then when we have parties, like he'll say, I'm having a pizza party. He'll call his friend. But then I give in to those, demands.
No, but I also initially, the first 2-3 months were really difficult for him also.
Yeah.
Completely different scenario.
Of course.
I mean, he was not enjoying it at all. But I think that time, like I tell you, we are really close to our dad too. And I think he was the one who, I was scared, as to, will Ruhaan be able to, develop into a better person or not? And I think for me, dad gave me a lot of confidence in that, what, it's time for him to fly and he's going to do great. And I think since he had the confidence in him, I think that confidence is translated into all of us. And I can see Ruhaan now build on to that confidence that he has. That, okay, I know I'm going to do fine. And I think once he knew he's going to do fine, he's just stopped, deeply thinking into it.
How do you manage in all of this? Because now that he's out, your Ruhaan is in boarding school. Do you reminisce that you didn't get enough time with them?
Always, But as I said, in fact, if anybody asks me today that what is the one thing you would like to change, and I always feel the one thing I would like to change is being more available to my children, in terms of time, in terms of, just being around them, or just doing, little things, little joyful things, because I couldn't. I mean, I honestly couldn't, and they also beautifully adapted it because they realized, and even that conversation I had earlier on with them, that your mother has to work. I don't have a choice. And, so they understood that. And I honestly got back to work after both my pregnancies when they were barely 3.5 months. So they've used to, and I've obviously had a lot of sarcastic comments also from people around me. Oh, how do you take care of your children? How does it manage? And you can come and take care of my children. Judgmental opinions.
Plus divorcee,
plus
children
divorce,
or be
single mother, a lot of those things. And, but the only good part is that I kept telling myself that there's no point in being guilty. Whatever I have time with them, I will try and maximize that. So I have tried as much as possible to be there around for their important days. They can call me. I'm available to them on the drop of the hat. So even when I'm working, now of course I run my own business, so it's easier. Earlier also when I was working, any call from home, any call from my kids, I will pick up the call. They have that assurance. However important the meeting is, I would not, stay. I would always fly back the same night, so that at least night I'm there with them. They will, I will see them off at school. A lot of those things.
And when you are at work, it would be parents or daycare?
No. So I have it's like a second mother. She has raised them. Our Didi, she's been with me for 20 years.
Wow.
I thank God, because I think it's very important to acknowledge such support system. My mother, of course, always came and, was being around with her. She spent a lot of time till his 10th standard. In COVID, of course, post-COVID, she said, now I need to enjoy my own independence and freedom. So she went back to Pune, but she was always around. But our Didi has been, I always say I am today thanks to her.
20 years. She was
20 years.
Before I was born.
Yeah. She came to me exactly when I was expecting him. I was 3 months pregnant. And she has raised them like her own children. I mean, in fact, I would say in Ruhaan's life, so she's been more permanent than any one of us, 24/7. She's always at home, managed their food, their health, their medicines more religiously, their wants. They're there are times I will tell her, why are you cooking 3 different meals? But she wants to pamper them, usko ye pasand hai, isko ye pasand hai.
That happens when I come back for long.
Yeah, even, 4 times a day if she has to cook, taking care of their clothes, everything, every little thing, she literally dedicated herself to them. So that
I'm just getting quite jealous. I was thinking I should be, worried that you've gone through separation. I just realized that Bagar has a lot of fun, more holidays, almost 2 mothers. Ash ho gayi idhar game ki. Sorry, I was trying to.
No.
God has his way of, taking something and giving something more.
Correct.
And but yeah, I think there's been a lot of learning, growing, hardships. I think we're just being okay with that now. But there have been times where have been very, very, very stressful times where at times I didn't know if I'm able to manage my own self, more than managing the children, because, literally, like, there were times when they were too young, he wouldn't even know. I have gone through hell, and then I would say, okay, now I can't break down. I have to be a strong mother for them. And maybe when I introspect and look back, I think there are times, maybe some of those situations I could have handled much better or differently.
I think life
but वो तो life का है,
like you can always look back and say I could have done
but
this
when I hear people, my neighbors, I have these very two senior citizen uncle aunties who are my neighbors, and we grew a bond because of the COVID time. Again, I was looking after them, and their own children were abroad. They are so fond of my children, and every time, when I hear from external people that you're blessed to have such lovely children, they're so respectful, they are being raised well, and all those things that you heard, like I said, their school principal so fondly tells me, and I know I'm on the right path. And we both, in our own ways, of course, they're very, very attached to their father, and you would have understood that from his conversation. And that was also something that I told myself, that the pain is mine. Whatever we've gone through, that apart, I don't want them to, nobody can replace a parent, right? So whether it's a father or a mother, so I didn't want to them to be restricted, whenever they wanted to meet, call, spend time, they've always done that. And I think that also helps in many ways. Because
did you find it odd because you have a great relationship with your mom, with your dad, but then he decided to remarry? Like, when do you feel कि यार अब प्यार share हो जाएगा, मेरे को time नहीं मिलेगा, or something like that?
I mean, initially
how old were you? He got remarried.
No, so when he got remarried, I was.
That was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I was my 11th. Yeah.
17.
So I was I'm very comfortable with my dad's side of the blended family also. So my stepmom, my dad, and her kids. And so I know them very well. I've grown up with them, so I was very close to them. So I think, when people get, when your parents get divorced, obviously, you don't want them to. You are like, okay, this is the bond, I want it to work forever. But at times, things don't work out. And at the end of the day, you want, your mom to be happy. You want your dad to be happy. Whatever way best possible for them. Right? So I think from the divorce, I think very honestly, I learned to look at the positive things more than the negative things, wherein I get 2 gifts. I have 2 really close families, I have 2 vacations, and I have 2 amazing support systems. One from my dad's side of the family, and now my stepmom and her kids, and from my mom's side of the family, when I'm very close to my maushis and my ajji, and I think, things happen in life and you move on.
So let's, would love to understand a little, and maybe this is something that you have not discussed with your mom as well, or maybe you have. Like, what are the 3 things that you would always go to your dad for, or 3 things you always go to only mom for?
I think...
Like, is there a demarcation, first of all? I'm sure there is.
There is. Like, it's a very thin line, but I think I'm pretty open with both my parents. I tell them, like, whether I'm in relationships, not in relationships, whether I drink, I don't drink tonight, whatever it is, right? But I think with dad...
update देना तो...
हाँ, the thing with that is that...
He's just managing things. I'll tell
WhatsApp,
you what to want.
WhatsApp group, huh?
He'll tell me what things he'll tell his father.
I think you should...
Actually, why don't you tell? What do you think?
And then I'll just correct it.
I think while he has an open relation, his father is, of course, a little strict also, because, typically he also must be under the, stress that, okay, I'm raising, sons and they shouldn't go wayward, and how the world kind of perceives. So he's a little strict about that. I am a little emotional, so he'll take me emotionally. He wants to go to Pune tomorrow for a week, so he wants to take the new car, which he will not ask his father, because his father is going to say outright no. But he'll up twist me, and he'll convince me. Or, things like that. Materialistically, if he wants something which he knows that he's obviously exceeding,
normal asks. So
normal ask, and somehow I've always pampered them. I'll always give in to those demands, because I feel, yes, if you have to say no for discipline issues, it's a different thing. But just saying no for the sake of saying no is not.
Career choices, where do you go?
Oh, I think my dad first and then my mom.
Why so?
Not very particular reason, but I think since I was a kid, I spent more time with my dad as a child. Like, because we used to play a lot of sports together.
You like sports, huh? Generally,
so dad in sports was always it, right? So whatever learnings I've had growing up, like playing sports is come through him. So I have a very funny incident that I tell my friends also. I was learning cycling and I didn't want to remove those trainer wheels. My dad's like, no, you have to. Like there's no option. I was like, no, I won't. I won't touch the cycle only. So in his own way of explaining things to me, he loosened the training wheels and he said, okay, go down the ramp.
और वो निकल गया चला.
वो निकल गए. And I mean, I was so scared when it went down. Initially, I just figured my way out. And I think that's what my dad's been doing for me and Ruhaan. So, yeah, and like you said, for advice, I think I do go to him. For things that I know dad will say no, I go to my mom. Wherein, my dad is a very practical person. He'll be like, do you really want it? Or do you like, think about it. If I want something, I'll be like, Mama, today I want this new t-shirt, or, like, I want these shoes, please. And she'll be like, you want it?
But, like I always say, even though he's 19 and the kind of bond we share, I mean, it's beautiful because, like, I know he'll call me Ai otherwise, but when he wants something, it is Mammu. When the Mammu comes, means he wants something. Or he's a nocturnal guy, so...
You need to try something new now.
Yeah, so when...
She's figured out.
Every time he will come late back home, now that he's home for a month for his internship, he'll always come into my bedroom, he'll lock the door, he'll make sure he lets me know that he's back home. He's a huggy baby, so he'll always hug me. He'll always, always his calls end with I love you, I miss you. I mean, that is like given. So that's the beautiful part of it. He very openly talks to me about his relationships from day one, from the time he's, liked a girl in school to the most recent, whatever, just, and we have this fun conversations. But there are times, like you asked me, when both of us as parents had to talk to him about something. We of course addressed certain things with him. So, but yeah, there is a clear demarcation that ये चीज मम्मी के साथ है, कि वो चीज dad के साथ है.
You discuss your relationships with both mom and dad?
Yeah, very openly.
And I'm just trying to get a perspective. Like, would you like? I think a lot of the things that you would get from the internet, but let's say you want to express or you want to learn how you feel about a girl, wouldn't you want to know one side of the perspective more than the other?
Yeah, I do. But like he said, he's strict. He's only strict in very certain aspects. Like when it comes to discipline, he wants me to be disciplined and humbled, which I'm so glad that he imbibes in me today. But I think for other things, he's very chill. Even mom is very chill in things when it comes to relationships and all. But when I like a girl, I think I go and tell mom first, Mama, you know what? I think there's this girl I like and stuff. Not because of anything that I don't want to tell dad or whatever, but I think because she's a girl, she gives me a perspective saying that, okay, do this, okay, do that.
Actually, you get better perspectives from please. I don't think guys have a
if I
very
go to
good
dad,
idea of how to really express feelings.
Yeah, fair enough. If I go to dad, he'll be like, acha, aisa hai, haan, theek hai.
Like he went to Malaysia for a college international debate competition. He's calling me from there. Like this dress and I want to buy for my girlfriend. So I said, okay, which means I have to swipe the card, I have to give you the money, so I'll also give him that. But I said, okay, for me, all these things, I mean, see,
at least सही रास्ते जा रहा है, gift दे रहा है.
और age भी है ना, मतलब अभी हर चीज पे लिए you will try and put a stop and say ये मत करो, वो मत करो, फिर enjoy कब करेंगे यार, फिर वो चोरी छुपे तो करने वाले हैं, हम लोग ने भी किया है काफी सारी चीजें. We also know, like I want to in fact say this. When he was turning 18, I told him that I'm throwing a party for you. If you want to drink and if you feel like having drinks, please drink with me. We'll all enjoy and it's okay. मतलब मुझे ये नहीं, फिर I don't want to come to know later कि you all started drinking or you're hiding, but you have to be responsible. So वो भी नोक जोक होती है. It's not that just because I talk openly about it that I'm okay with him, but at least I know that we have this transparency and I always have told him that never hide anything from me because this is your safe place. जो भी कभी भी कुछ भी हो जाए, I would want to be the first person to know because as parents, even sometimes things happen with friends and you don't know what to how to deal with it or what to do. Please talk to us. we will be your first, point of call. And if need be, if we have to come physically or otherwise, or, handle things, then you should know that you're safe. So I think this is why we, it's not like we want him to do wrong things or we're encouraging him to do things that are not supposed to be done. But it's just that it's hone wala hai, right? And then there are, we discuss news, we discuss current affairs, we discuss a lot about business. What I do work, he comes and, he's a part of that also. The hardships, like he went to his internship. The first day he came back, he said, I'm hating it, how can you do a 9-to-5 jobs? Now I know that how you would be, working and coming back home. So those are also the conversations we have. So there, of course, I have to tell him, like, why be grounded? Don't fly that high. Ye to karna hi hai. And if you want to if you have a vision, if you want to be somewhere, then this is the time for you to start taking those steps also. Like he has this big thing of, I want to be 30 under 30 and Fortune 5. And I said 30 under 30, 29 pe nahi hota hai. Or 19 mein hi start karna hai, because I quit my job and started my company when I was in my mid 40. Like I was 7, 8 years ago. So I was almost 40, 42. And his father also started, around that time in 40s. I said, you don't have to wait, right? You have those learnings and experiences, but that is also important. So be on that track. So yeah, we have to keep getting them on track. Sometimes you have to let them loose, We are also, let them fall also at times.
Got it. But I'll sort of spend a little time with you, Revaant, on this thing because we get a lot of questions on the platform. And usually those questions, we get a lot of responses on the platform only from mothers and fathers, right? I don't think we've ever got a child's perspective, and that's why I was really looking forward to today's episode. Because we keep wondering what is the right thing for the child. And I know today you have a very outside-in view, looking back saying ki ye acha tha, this all happened great. But I want you to go back to your 8-year-old, 9-year-old self or 10-year-old self and think tab aapne kya socha tha. Maybe you will not remember it, but at least let's give that a try, right? So you spoke about this, that dad jab cycle sikha rahe the tab wo wheels. It was just such a deja vu for me. We didn't have the small cycle. My dad used to drive. My mom and dad used to drive the same. It was a ladies' cycle, and I have learned on that. I don't know if there's this BSA, SLR, something like that, right? And he had to hold it from the back because there was no training wheels. And I would keep telling him, pakad ke raho, right? And he would hold it, but after the second or third day, he was, I used to keep saying, chodna mat, because I was always sure wo chhod denge karke. And he would keep shouting. So the voice of him running behind me and shouting was what I would like, pakad ke rakha hai. One fine day, I figure out that something is wobbling and then I look back, he's just running and shouting, he's not even holding the seat, right? So that's when I realized that I could actually, kar sakta hu karke. But these are the memories that stay with us in some way or form and sort of make us who we are today, plus in some ways allow us to understand and internalize a lot of things that happened back then, right? He was doing this because he wanted you to learn independently, or mom did this because she... But तब नहीं realize होता है.
Oh, that
तो बहुत गुस्सा आता है कि यार मतलब क्या कर रहे हो करके.
Yeah. But I think at the end of the day, I think for me, my dad was my superhero as a kid, and my mom was like queen mother. Like like utmost respect. I used to love her so much. But for my dad, superhero. Like we used to do masti, time pass. So at the end of the day, both my parents, like I knew whatever they're doing. Like even as I was 8 or 9 years old, I had blind trust on them. Like if mom or dad told me ki Revaant, even still, that this to be done, it's to be done, like blanket. Like I don't go and question them. Like if she says that, like if I want something and she'll say not today, later, then later. Or like if she says that Revaant,
not never throw tantrums.
Oh no,
I do. When it like
not
I'm saying
now anymore.
Not now.
But there was in time.
ऐसे बोल रहे ऐसे कि उसने कुछ बात.
No, others bargain. Not at all.
8, 9, 10 was a difficult time because of course 10th was pressure to tha hi. Also, you're a teenager, you have different challenges. Probably at that time, there were a lot of things happening. When we, of course, finally, I decided that, okay, I'll go for the divorce. I had just started my agency. So there were meltdowns, there were tantrums.
I just want to get everybody a sense of what exactly goes on both sides and are we on the same page or not, right? So it's going to be a quick, first thing that comes to your mind. This is think like a rapid fire, right? Okay, cool. So first time he came and said, I got bullied in school. What did you tell him?
So I remember telling him that you need to handle it.
Okay.
You know, because bullies, if you accept that you're being bullied, which means, you know, you're giving power to the bully.
How old was he?
He must be in second or third standard. So he had this big fight. No, younger than that.
8.
But 6, 7, 7-ish, 7, 8.
So you had a big fight where he got beaten up.
Yeah,
and he came and told you that.
Yeah, it had become a big scene, and you know, I was blasted by the parent and the grandparent. But he was the naughty one. तो मैंने उसको यही बोला कि एक label हो जाएगा. तो एक, you know, you will get that. But I said, if you need to stand up for yourself, and that's what I tell Ruhaan also. I said, you become a buddy rather than a bully, but don't take the bullying. You know, you need to stand up for your own self. So.
Do you recall this?
Yeah, I recall the part wherein like she was like, you know, you don't bully, but if you get bullied, don't even take it.
So what did you do next time that you got bullied?
Nothing, I didn't take it.
Okay, cool. First time he came and told you, Mama, I think I'm in love. Has it happened? I'm assuming it happened.
Yeah.
Well, he didn't say I'm in love, but he did say that I like a girl.
Okay.
And
no, I told you I'm in love only, Mama.
That was second time. I mean, the first time I'm remembering, you were in school. And so I said, he said, I like her. And I said, who is this? Who is the girl? I kind of figured it out. And when he told me, I said, yeah, she's sweet. You know, I like her too. You know. And I never said, but only I said, you're in 10th. You both need to focus. And I knew that you would, you know, the car would pick him up and then he would go and pick her up and, you know, and he would drop her back and all of that was happening. And but I just said, don't get distracted. You know, I mean,
what was your takeaway from the conversation? I'm assuming you were looking for acceptance or blessing when you said.
I was like, no, I think what I was looking for was the answer she gave. I think she gave a very correct
Come on,
answer.
you were not saying, expecting that she'll say.
I was expecting her to say okay. And I was like, you know what, you know where you are. Like I thought that she'll be like, Revaant, 10 there. I don't want the marks to drop. Do what you want, but I don't want the marks to drop. I think she gave a similar answer and I was like, okay.
So this was the first time. The first time he came and told you liked a girl.
Yeah.
The second time, let's go there because I want to say when he expressed that he loved a girl.
वो तो your क्या बोलते हैं दुखती रग पे, you know, you're putting a hand. So no, so before that I'll tell you, before he said I'm in love with a girl, I mean, I understand that, you know, boys are growing up, children are growing up, hormones are raging. So my only one point was that, you know, you have to be safe and consent is important. So rather than going here and there, you know, you would rather invite your friend home. That does not mean that you have my permission, but at least, you know, like take care that you are not taking or going, you know, with the girl in any random place because it's dangerous. So that was my point of view. And when he said, actually more than he said I'm in love, I realized that he is quite into this girl. And initially he would, you know, talk about, you know, I'm just having fun and, you know, long distance and all of that, you know, trying to be the uber cool kind of a guy.
So you also shared his sexual experiences with you or no?
So not sexual experiences, but I do know that obviously he has
he's had experiences
and I mean, he has openly spoken about it to me, saying that yes, I mean, fine, we're 18 and, you know, whatever. And I said, okay, I understand, but don't, I mean, it's not something that at our age, our parents would accept it or allow us to do.
I could never have had the chat.
But I am only telling you this because as a mother, I am very concerned about both of you. You know, so it's not just that, you know, rights or wrongs, because tum log jo karna hai karoge hi. So there is no way of
once you're adults, it's,
And secondly, be careful. I mean, very, very important that you have to be safe. You have to have consent. You have to ensure, you know, the girl, I mean, you're responsible for her.
Yeah.
Don't take her to any random places and, you know, all that. Those conversations we've had very clearly. There are times when he takes too long in the bathroom.
I will face my parents and have that.
No, so for me, the thing is that if I'm going to do something, I'd rather let my parents know as to what I'm doing.
So you speak to both?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I'd rather let, okay, if suppose I'm going to meet a friend for a drink, I'd rather let both my parents, I'll tell both my parents, dad, mom, I'm going out for a drink, I'm going to be drinking tonight, that's it. Because it's not because it's a compulsion, it's because I want them to know it from me rather than someone else coming and telling them, you know what, your son was here, he was doing this, and I want my parents to be like, yeah, we knew about it.
Like I've always told him that the only important thing for me is that you being honest.
Got it.
In our house, it's very clear that, like, she's told me this since the beginning, like, you know, since I was in 10th, and I told her that, you know, like, I have friends and all who are girls. She's like, Revaant, whatever happens, if I ever get to know that you've treated a woman disrespectfully in your life, you're going to get it from me. And getting it from mom, matlab, she's really mad. Because until, like, she's at her peak, she won't, like, lose her cool. But once she loses her cool, then, I mean, as a fool, I have to cry a mountain or bring a mountain home or do something. Then she'll be like,
you didn't cover that part. That's what, when I presume that something like that would have had as a conversation.
For her, it's very clear that I think with mom and dad, everything, I've learned how to, you know, work around it. And I think with them, it is very clear.
I must tell you this, I have probably had a conversation with him on all aspects.
First time he came and said he cheated in school, in an exam. Pakka hua रहेगा. There's no way you're not copied.
Yeah. No, I'm not some.
Well, I don't think
when he's honest, would have come and told me.
And while I would probably think he would have, I would not expect him to do it.
Not happened. You never told your mom
And she's not told me that he
He's
is.
saying he's told you.
She's like, Revaant, you do this again, out of the house.
Really? You've told me?
Which
10th standard only, I told you.
Okay.
It was MCQs, and my friend was right in front of me, and I just...
Yeah, again that. I have also told my younger one. This I remember.
If you get caught...
This is every parent's denial. मेरा बच्चा तो cheat नहीं करेगा. वो बोल रहे हैं.
क्या भी होगा. Now he's telling me, I don't remember, unfortunately I don't remember this conversation. But if at all he would have told me, I would have told him.
Oh, right now,
do
you
not
tell
cheat.
me.
I'm okay with failure.
Right now, you tell me.
Yeah.
If you get kicked out for cheating, you're not coming back home.
That I don't.
You figure out
No, I said failure is okay for me. But not cheating. Not
dishonesty,
dishonesty. I mean, I'm very clear about it. Like that is a complete no-no for me.
First time he asked for money.
I've given it to him.
What was the age? What happened? I just want to remember.
So I'll tell you how it happened. It was not asking for money. You know what he would do? He would come home in the school bus. My Didi would go to pick him up at the gate, and there was this kirana store, you know. And he had this habit, you know, he's very fond of junk. He was. Now he's into fitness. But ice cream khao, you know, pancake khao, waffle khao, cold coffees pio, milkshake, whatever. He had this habit, he would come down, walk into that store and buy Magnum. Magnum had launched in India then. And every day he would have that.
We're going to get comments on this episode saying, please stop getting Amir people on the episode.
And, you know, initially I was like, that Bhabhi, you know, from the store, she called me, she said, you know, and my Didi told me. Didi didn't tell me. She was, I think, wanting to pamper him and protect him. That Bhabhi told me कि अरे दीदी आपका बेटा रोज आके ले रहा है मैं खाते में डाल रही हूँ तो मैंने बोला चलो एक वीक you know नया है you know रोज होने लगा then I told I said boss this is not acceptable not because of I mean A, it is expensive I can't afford to pay that kind of bills. Secondly, I said it's not good for your health, you know, it's sugar and all of that stuff.
How did you know that khate mein jayega karke?
Because I knew now. Like whenever we used to go,
so you would observe that mom would buy something and she would write down and you would not pay anything.
Yeah.
So you
I thought that was
this is the trick. कि जाओ और बोल दो खाते में लिख दो करके.
Precedent. Yeah.
But then, like now he has his pocket money. He has a separate pocket money from his father and separate from me, and then plus. मतलब पॉकेट मनी भी दो उबर के लिए भी पे करो स्विगी के लिए भी पे करो शॉपिंग भी करो मतलब that's why I said performance restaurant like I have to give money. But I remember in Ruhaan's case because he also actually he started that you know there is this app called as Spam Pay which you can install it and it's within the family and you can transfer. So then in his 10th standard obviously and फिर मुझे बाद में पता चला कि ये बंदा तो रोज मतलब एक तो वो मैग्नम का स्टोरी हो गया फिर ये क्लास के बहाने वहाँ पे गुरु कृपा में जाके समोसा खाता है रोज यू नो यहाँ पे मैं घर पे उसके लिए बना के रख रही हूँ खाना वाना एंड देन ही वाज सो स्मार्ट जस्ट टू इम्प्रेस माय मदर ही वुड देन गेट फॉर हर आल्सो you know so then I said okay
वहाँ भी खाता है क्या वहाँ भी खाता चलता था और पॉकेट मनी।
No,
नहीं,
वहाँ पे
वो
तो
पैसा देती थी उसको कि I would keep that 100 rupees for him कि कुछ
नानी
emergency
is happy then तो
yeah. And then he started his family because then I was like, okay, I'm not around. If there's emergency, they need something. You know, somehow I always came with this point of view that I don't want to say no to them. You know, I don't want to deprive them of anything. You know, the छोटे को भी वो आदत लगी. Mama, I mean that day I was in Tanzania and he had come home for his vacation. And he's calling me and I said, what happened? So he said, please transfer 100 rupees. I'm down. I want to buy chips or something like that. And I couldn't transfer. Then I called him. I said, you know, just take it from Dada. You know, then Dada, of course, now can Google Pay and all that.
First time he came and said, आप ये रूहान को क्यों दे रहे हो? I never got this.
हाँ, वो तो आज भी होता है, रोज होता है. And
First time. I
First
know,
time it happened.
I've been the younger one, trust me, I have heard this so many times. But it might have happened reverse also.
Yeah, मतलब कुछ भी like he तो has told me मैंने बहुत ज़्यादा मार खाया है, मतलब कुछ भी नहीं खाया है, फिर भी I'm like what is that perception he's carrying? You are pampering him so much, मुझे तो ये भी नहीं मिला, which is totally untrue. I told him, I got really mad at him. I said, how can you say this? You know, 8 to 6 years, you've got 6 years of attention, you were a lone child, you were pampered by both of us. मतलब मैंने उसको ये से बोला, I have got you all, like he always had so many firsts, which his friends never had. Like he got his first PS4 when he was 13, you know, and he got
Xbox before that.
Xbox before that.
तो सब कुछ तो मिला फिर
वहाँ पर एक वो है ना, मतलब
what do you like? What are the latest 3 things that you think Ruhaan is getting but you did not?
Oh,
get?
he got his PS5 way too early.
Okay.
Then whenever like so I didn't.
होता ही है ना, पहली गाड़ी जल्दी आती है.
Yeah, but
parents also earn more ना as they.
उसको याद नहीं है in his 10th standard before even any of his friends had, because 11th was going to be online. He wanted a Mac.
Okay.
And I have bought him a Mac. For
how much I got? 92 I got. 91.
That's not quite because of that.
Yeah, that was
asked
that.
He wanted a 10th generation iPad अभी चाहिए था वो मिला.
With me, how it
iPhone चाहिए था वो मिला. अभी क्या नहीं मिला है?
I think like this has been mom and dad's approach where they've been like, whatever you want, you first perform, then you'll get it.
सबका usually वही होता है.
Yeah, but Ruhaan gets it like now because he's in hostel and all, he gets it first and
what
then
has
he
he
performs.
got?
Yeah, so we asked our audience that if you're going to get someone on the episode, what is the question? So there's actually a single mother who's asked this question that I've felt that folks are very judgmental on single moms, and there's a lot of empathy for single dads, but the single mom doesn't get that empathy.
Yes.
Do you think that's true?
I agree, totally. And while I am not a feminist and I will not say that, oh, single, but I know single fathers also have a lot more challenges. They also go through a lot, and they do also try to do a lot. And in fact, I don't know whether they appreciate it or not, but I always tell them that, it's in my grace and my, love for the two of you that I have allowed you also. You must also respect that. A lot of times mothers take a call, they don't want to give access to the father, and for whatever reasons, right, wrong, they feel that's the way, they are aggrieved or, whatever. But I never wanted to do that. So I feel that's in my grace. But what I went through as a single mother, and they were growing, they were very young then, it's very judgmental. The society is extreme. My own friends, now I don't call them as friends because I think they're all fence-sitters. And I always felt as women, if another woman is going through this, कुछ अगर आपको नहीं बोलना है, अच्छा नहीं बोलना, तब कुछ मत बोलो. Don't talk bad, because we are going through that struggle. If you can't reach out, if you can't help, it's fine. At one point, I literally sat myself down and talked to myself and said, boss, I am going to drop 2 words out of my dictionary, struggle and victim. And I am not going to allow any opinions to matter because those opinions are not paying my bills. As long as you're paying my bills, then fine, you have an opinion and I'll respect that. But why? I have faced this. They would talk behind, there were, things that were being spread. Obviously I had to an extent, I just disconnected myself from people. Maybe then I got into running big time because of his motivation. I started focusing on my health and fitness. I started working out. I got into running. I became a Pinkathon ambassador. I work very closely with Milind Soman. I got into long term. There also I had a lot of people saying, "Arey, she's not bothered about children. She's only bothered about the glamour." A lot of things. Oh, look at her. She's a single mom. But I'm sure she's done something wrong. because she's Indian, and she's on Facebook or she's on social media. A lot of things. I just took it in my stride, and there was the moment of glory for me. And one day he came and told me, then Mom, I had this conversation where I was told a lot of things about you, and I stood up and I said, I'm very proud of my mother, what she has achieved and what she is doing. I'll always stand by her, and you have my back. And I thought that's something that, I'm sorry, I'm getting emotional about it, but I thought that I'm on the right path. I don't need to do anything, different. If my children are absorbing it and observing what I'm doing, and in some way, I'm not answerable to anyone, but yes, I'm answerable to them. And if they, are proud of me, and if they are taking that stand from me, then I am home.
Just to pull a string on that a bit, at least as Indian boys, all of us are mama's boys. Deep down, how much ever, she thinks that, what she just said, that they prefer their fathers more and whatever. It's not like that, but I think we do not accept that, we love our moms as much as,
Express,
not accept. We don't express, our love for our mothers, on a daily basis. But I think it does come out in places wherein if dad is sleeping, I let him sleep, but if mom is sleeping, I go and disturb her, Mama, utna, pani chahiye meko. Just simple things like that. And I think that, like you said, we don't express it, but I think there are a lot more than what they think. And I keep telling her this, that Mama, just because I don't tell you that 10 times a day I don't love you doesn't mean I don't love you. But also from her standpoint, I think Ruhaan and I have grown up seeking inspiration majorly from Mama because of what she has been able to achieve. I mean, to start your own company at 40 or to lose weight or to push societal barriers through the roof and say, you know what, this is not who I am and you don't define who I am, I define who I am. I think learning that from her has been a pivotal point for me growing up and being like, there's this line when it says that you don't worry about fitting in when you're custom made, and I think that's what she's taught me. If you're custom made, you don't need to worry about fitting in. To a group, crowd, whatever, you'll find your own way up.
Absolutely amazing. On that wonderful note, I would like to thank both of you for coming here and sharing so openly about the last 10 years, and for you, kudos to both of you to have sort of managed the ups and downs that life has thrown at you, and having such a wonderful relationship and building such a happy, healthy family.
Thank you. I always say, these are the 2 hours of my life.
Amazing. Kudos and thank you. Thank you both for spending the time.
Thank you very much for this. I think this kind of a conversation we've also not really had. And
as I told you, in some way or form, not only me, I think I told you I find it definitely, but all the guests who have come here always find it a little therapeutic to just be open about our thoughts. And in some ways, that's the objective of the platform, right? That we don't sometimes pause and reflect of what has been, because we are just running and figuring it along the way. And sometimes it's just good to pause, reflect, appreciate, maybe course correct, or maybe just appreciate and be self-aware of where we are and where we need to go.
Yeah.
So I hope this was as helpful to you as well. I'm sure it was for the audience. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi there. If you enjoyed watching the show, then please do subscribe to Tiffin Break on YouTube and Instagram to watch more such content. And if you want to be notified of the next episode, please do press the bell icon on the screen.